Welcome back to our Enterprise Service Management Maturity Journey. If this is the first video you're watching, my name is Andy Hall, and I'm joined by Kurt Piazza from RL Canning, as well as Charlie Betts from Forrester. As I mentioned earlier, there are 4 steps in our Enterprise Service Management Maturity process. This is the 4th and final step in the series, which is about being proactive. Automate as much as possible, and problems will be resolved before they occur. In this next video, you will see how a repetitive issue becomes overwhelming for the team and how a proactive approach could have reduced their time and cost to resolve, as well as prevented the issue from even happening in the first place.
Oh geez, how on earth did you find me here, especially on a Saturday?
Good to see you, Bob. Do you remember that email issue from a little while ago?
Yes, of course. How could I forget?
Well, we still aren't out of the woods on that one.
What are you talking about? That was like 2 weeks ago. How are we still having problems now, especially on a weekend?
It seems that there have been problems all along, but we are just now finding out about them. Users were just thinking that the issues were going to be temporary, but they are now starting to complain because Outlook keeps crashing and they have to reboot, sometimes more than once per day.
This is terrible. I don't understand why users don't report these problems. I would think they would want the issue resolved right away.
They usually don't speak up until the disruption of the fix is less painful than the problem itself.
Great point. Do we know the root cause?
I've been able to look at a few of these up close, and it seems the commonality is lack of hard drive space. My thought is the patch that we deployed to fix the spam filter issue has caused a problem because it didn't go in properly on workstations with limited hard drive free space, but I am not really sure. We're just dealing with each one as they come.
We have 41 open tickets on this right now, with more coming in each day. We don't have a way to interrogate each machine to test Georgie's observation about the lack of hard drive space.
Well, have you guys come up with a solution?
We are creating space on hard drives by deleting temp files and other unnecessary files and then reinstalling the patch. That seems to be making the issue go away. It's really the same fix over and over again.
I guess all we can do is take these as they come. Let's try to keep up with them as best we can. I'll send a mass email out to let everyone know that if they are having these symptoms, that they should create an incident so we can help them. Otherwise, we are just crushing their productivity since they have to reboot multiple times each day.
There must be some way to automate some of this so the system can proactively detect, invoke, and remediate issues like these.
Well, go do some research. I am sure you will find a solution.
So how did these guys get in trouble again? I guess things do actually have a way of coming back to haunt us if they aren't truly resolved in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, oftentimes these issues have a way of staying quiet for a while, and then they surprise you when they're impactful and widespread, which seems to happen like out of nowhere. Unfortunately, Bob's team is accountable for this application. Yet the team had no idea that this was brewing because he lacked the proper tools to give them the information. And not only that, they're now forced to manage the remediation manually with no automation for detection. So their response can only be reactive rather than predictive. And that puts them in a bad spot. Charlie, what do you think?
I want to certainly, before we're done, note that there are some significant differences in knowledge work as opposed to acquiring raw materials and transforming them on a factory floor. In general, you've got, for the statistical geeks out there, you've got different distributions, you have more nonlinear behavior. We won't go into that particular rabbit hole, but without the data, without the capabilities of just understanding the demand coming in and the people working on that demand and its ultimate disposition, you're not going to solve the problems we've identified here. And you're going to continue to operate in a very haphazard and inefficient way.
Yeah, no, and that's a great point. And it sounds like all this could be really tricky. And I'm just wondering, how challenging is it to get to this final level of maturity?
Well, I can tell you what we're seeing here at Forrester and what I'm hearing from leading companies is that it's definitely possible. I mean, endpoint monitoring is becoming more and more integrated with service management, automated remediation. Certainly, there are great tools out there, in the runbook automation space. And we've always kind of built our technical capabilities up, through identifying repetitive things and factoring them out and then automating them. Certainly AI ops, to the last bullet point there, the aggregate issue recognition, that's super important. Get machines to start scrutinizing the event streams, even the text records, the messaging and chat, and how people are writing up incidents and problems. You can even apply text analytics there to start identifying repetitive things. All of these things are being done, can be done, are possible. But what we hear is that once you do these things, then you start to see more unusual incidents. And so you've solved the easy problems, and now what you have to look forward to are the hard problems. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because you're ahead of your competition in all likelihood. And you are starting to deal with tough leading edge emergent things instead of, the same old routine things that your competitors may be bogged down with.
Right. Kurt, anything else to add?
Not too much here. I mean, I definitely agree with Charlie that that technology is available today, and it's not. I don't think it's really used enough. These endpoint management systems can really provide a lot of real-time information before any human being is going to acknowledge it and report it and make it visible for someone that can do something about it. To see. So if we can automate that end of it, right, and have that detection be systemic, then I think we can really use that as a tool to identify these patterns in the data and to uncover these, more opportunities in the environment that contain problems and avoid them from spreading, or even avoid them from happening at all. And when all this data exists in the system, it can trigger automated workflows to resolve or remediate these things before anybody's even aware that it happened. So some people, maybe they haven't even turned on their PC yet, but they've already been affected by something that has been reported somewhere else, using the same PC and load set, right? And now we're able to fix that as they're logging in, and they never even have the problem. So that's where we want to get to.
Yeah, so you're starting to talk about some of the benefits, Kurt. Are there any other benefits that you want to kind of get into here in more detail?
I think, that when these issues are identified systemically, ticket volume can be reduced, human involvement is reduced, major incidents don't occur certainly as often, and we can utilize data to find problems, before they're reported. I think this is what's going to lower cost and reduce risk, maybe even more importantly, very significantly. So, Charlie, what else are you seeing out there more broadly with this concept?
Well, I just wanted to put a word in for endpoint management. Certainly one response might be, well, isn't everything going into the cloud? And that's actually not what we're seeing. What we're seeing is that for every server that leaves a data center and goes to the cloud, people are adding 5 IoT devices out on the edge. And so, we've got still plenty to manage, and a lot of physical devices needing human touches, or at least a remote session to fix. But again, I do think that the challenge that we run into is that when we automate the easy things, you then find that you have to redirect people to the hard things. And that's an inevitable maturation progression. We do all of these things. We get all the benefits here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we see this. I see people, reporting that they're getting these benefits. And then they come back to me a few months later and they say, well, okay, yeah, we no longer need as many tier 1 people. We might need a few more tier 3 people because the incidents that are getting through are a lot harder.
Right.
But again, they've raised their baseline. You know, they are now at a new level of competitiveness. And so it's just a necessary evolution. But I do want, to point that out, that, we do see these dynamics.
Thank you for your time. We hope you have enjoyed our series on the evolution of enterprise service management. If you haven't seen the previous discussions on the topic, please go to services.rlcanning.com.